Why would that make me stop crying? Are y'all gonna give me the like $75 to go get this re-pierced? I may have overreacted. Hello, and welcome to today's video, and happy day 2 of Vlogmas. I know that this is not Vlogmas related, but I did want to get this video out like ASAP, so today we're just filming this little update about my wisdom teeth, because near the end of Vlogtober, I posted a vlog of how terrified I was to get my wisdom teeth taken out. And one, I just want to say thank you so much for literally every single comment on there. Y'all were so nice in trying to help me feel better about it and not be as anxious about it. And I appreciate you 110% because I was terrified, absolutely terrified. I was. But here I am today. I have lived to tell the tale because I did survive my wisdom teeth being taken out. I got them taken out mid-November, November 14th to be exact. So I'm about like 2.5 weeks post wisdom teeth removal. And I wanted to kind of just film this just to let you guys know or give some insight on like how I prepped for it, how it went, how my recovery was, just the whole 9 yards. Cause I planned on filming a video for it, but I just was literally so anxious, like so anxious about this entire thing. And I do want to start out this vlog by saying that it was not as bad as I thought it was going to be, okay? I will admit, I may have overreacted. However, if you watched that vlog, what the lady said to me was completely uncalled for because she told me I had to take my nose piercings out, right? Specifically this one, because the oxygen had to go into my nose and like this one wasn't really in the way, but this one had to come out before the day of my wisdom teeth removal. She said that basically I was gonna die if I didn't take it out. And she said I could not have a placeholder in it because I asked, even like a plastic one, a stud, whatever, because of course I was wearing a hoop, so I wasn't sure if it mattered. She said you couldn't have anything in, right? Well, as you can see, I no longer have a nose ring and I'm like so upset about it. I cried about it because my hole closed up and I could not get my nose ring back in after I was done. If you guys have been following for a while, that's just the most upsetting thing because this is my 3rd time getting my nostril pierced. I've had 2 piercings on this side and finally I went to this side and it like finally healed, it finally stuck, and now it's closed up and I have to go get it pierced again if I want it, which like I loved my double piercings, like my septum and this one, like I think it looked so good. I loved the way I looked in it. I felt really confident, it felt really pretty, but I don't want to go get it re-pierced. One, for the money. I'm like, are y'all gonna give me the like $75 to go get this re-pierced? I didn't want to address that because I feel like it's obvious and noticeable, like where did one of my piercings go? So let's backtrack a little bit to like the prepping for my wisdom teeth, like how I prepped for it. So essentially my surgeon prescribed me like 3 medications for the surgery in general that I had to pick up the day before because I had to take my amoxicillin. I think it was like 4 of them, 2 or 4 hours before my appointment. I forget exactly, obviously like listen to your doctors. I had like stronger ibuprofen and then I had hydrocodone. And then of course I went shopping for like the food that I was gonna have to eat. You absolutely cannot use a straw or do anything that's like of a sucking nature. So like no straws, no like suckers, no anything like that because you're at risk of getting dry sockets, which just look it up. You don't really want them. I got so many messages about it beforehand, of course, from like y'all, and of course my surgeon informed me on all of that. So no straws. I opted for applesauce, yogurt, and pudding were like my top 3 just random snacky foods. I of course got a bunch of ice cream because a lot of people said that the ice cream would help and just feel really good on your gums because it's really cold. And then for more of like a filling food that I ate mainly in the mornings or just like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a day because yogurt and pudding is not filling, were grits because I wanted something that had some sort of more sustenance than just pudding and ice cream. But of course you still can't chew and you can't suck anything. So I thought grits would be perfect because I can just kind of drink them. It was honestly like the perfect food to do for wisdom teeth in my opinion. So if you like grits, do grits because like oatmeal's too big and you kind of have to chew that, but the grits were perfect. Oh, and I also did soup, specifically the chicken and stars or like the chicken and rice. That was my go-to. I loved doing the soup and the grits. And then all the puddings and the yogurts I would snack on throughout the day, but I'd also use those to take my pills because I'm a baby and I cannot do pills. I cannot do pills with water. Like I have to eat something with it. And when you're in recovery, you're taking pills like every 4 hours. So I would eat like a pudding or an applesauce or a yogurt every 4 hours to take my pills. And honestly, that food setup was great. As far as preparing as well, I think it was 8 hours before my surgery is when I had to stop eating and drinking. But that part wasn't really hard because my appointment was at like 7 o'clock in the morning. By the time I had to stop eating, it was like 11 p.m. or something. Do the math in your head. And so it was just at night. Like I just wasn't eating or drinking at night, which was normal. Now the day of surgery, I was terrified. I was like crying the entire drive there. You do have to have someone drive you there and drive you home because you are drugged up. And I was getting put put under, like I wanted to be put to sleep, so I went under anesthesia to do it, so I did have to have someone drive me there, drive me back. I was like crying the whole drive there. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I have a lot of anxiety surrounding the dentist and dying and so many other things. Even when I was walking up to the counter to just like check in, like I was crying, and the lady probably was judging me, but I'm sure they also see that a lot. At least that's what I'm gonna tell myself to make myself feel better. I don't like needles, and so I don't want the IV, but I want to be put under, so you need the IV. So we go back there, and immediately when I walk through the door, they need to have like a curtain or something there. I'm following this lady and I look to my left and it's by like the back door. There's just a chair, a random chair sitting by the back door with a girl like slumped over in it, like completely like dead. And my first thought was like, oh, she's probably just got done getting her wisdom teeth taken out. And so she's sitting there waiting to be picked up, you know, like, cause they pick you up through the back door usually, so you don't get like walked through the lobby to scare people, even though they're literally just sitting out in the open when you go in the back. And I immediately just like tried to look away. I'm like, oh my gosh. So again, I start crying. Y'all said this a lot too, but the girl that I had my consultation with, no bedside manners, because the way that she says things was not helpful for my anxiety. They didn't really address any of my like fears or anything like that. So again, I was kind of just like rushed through this process, but on one hand, I feel like they were rushing because I was freaking the fuck out and they wanted me to just pass out. This is all happening so quickly. Like within 4 minutes, I was like knocked out, which is great. But within 4 minutes of me bawling, they're trying to ask me like, oh, why are you crying? And I'm like, I'm not answering you. And I'm just sitting there in silence. They're like, it'll be fine, you're fine. And then like 4 people walk in and they're all doing different things. So the one girl takes my glasses and puts on like goggles, or like, you know, like they're kind of clear glasses. Oh, they take like my blood pressure and they put the little thing on my finger that like beeps with your, you know, heart rate or whatever. And my thing was like going fucking crazy. And then at the same time that that's happening and I'm focusing on this beeping because my heart rate is going through the roof, a girl comes through and straps me down to the chair because she's like, hey, we're just gonna buckle you in so that way you don't rip out your IV or whatever. And then the guy like reps the little thing on and he's about to do like my IV, and that's when again I freak out because I like don't want to do the needles and it fucking hurt, and everything was just happening so quickly. And immediately after they got it in, I'm still bawling and they're like, okay, like your driver's gonna have to leave now, and I'm like holding their hand, like squeezing it because this is just all too much for me. And then I knocked the fuck out. But everything was happening so quickly. There was no patience. There was no like making sure that I was okay or good. They just like went in and knocked me out, which again was probably for the best, but it was just even more anxiety inducing for me to be like rushed through that process and to have like 4 people around me like plugging me up to things that are beeping, strapping me down to a chair, stabbing me with a needle, changing my glasses for me. Like there was just so much happening and I was already terrified, and they honestly did not help. And then I felt like I took a 10-minute nap and I woke up. And I don't remember much from like exactly when I woke up or anything like that, but I do remember hearing the girl say like in my little drunken stupor, she's probably gonna still be emotional and like be emotional for the next 4 hours because I like woke up crying still. And I remember her saying that when I was about to knock out. She was like, you better stop crying. If you go to sleep crying, you're gonna wake up crying. Again, that is not helping me. That is, why would that make me stop crying? And aside from my nose ring not going back in, honestly, recovery wasn't terrible. It was a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. Again, I was taking medications like every 4 hours, so there was an alarm on my phone for every 4 hours. And I think it was for that first day, I also had ice on, like something that you can like wear around your head, like a big ice pack. That was like 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. So there was a timer every 30 minutes to change out my ice so I could have it off and on. My gauze also had to be changed every 30 minutes. So there was a timer for that. I think it was for the first like 3 or 4 days. I also had to sleep sitting up, like I couldn't lay down. So that was kind of annoying. And then I lived off of the pudding and yogurt and grits and soup for 2 weeks. I know that online it says, you know, 2 to 3 days you can get back to normal, but at least for me, like I took the whole week off of work and I'm so glad I did. And then that weekend, I actually went down to the bus to go like work on it, but I could still feel some pain and I was still taking ibuprofen because they gave you extra of those, and I really couldn't open my mouth that big. I don't know if anybody else had like issues with that, but even now, if I try to eat like a bagel sandwich, I can't open my mouth big enough to like bite the bagel. I can talk normally now, but even that first weekend, I really couldn't talk normally and my mouth wouldn't open, so I was still eating all my soft foods, like I said, for literally 2 weeks. Like I had my first normal breakfast Monday of this week. And everybody has different recovery times, and maybe I waited longer than most people do before they go back to eating normal foods. I was just also terrified of like ripping my stitches or having them come out or getting a dry socket or whatever, getting like food stuck in there and having like an infection and having to go back in. Like I just really wanted them to heal. Even like this week is really the first time that I felt like they're healed to the most part. So I really didn't want to start eating food until I couldn't really feel my stitches anymore and everything like felt normal, if that makes sense. And that was my choice. So in all, I survived. It was terrifying. I cried a lot and I ate nothing for 2 weeks, and I can just now start eating food this week, but the pain is down. I was definitely swollen, but I also thought my like swelling was gonna be a lot worse, and it really wasn't. The ice really helped keep it down, and so did the ibuprofen and everything. So I had like minimal swelling. I didn't have any bruising, which was nice. Aside from like my fears, like it went fine. That is my wisdom teeth update. I wanted to address it because I know that so many of you guys were just sending me well wishes, giving me so much advice from Vlogtober, which I appreciate. So I wanted to let y'all know that I did it and I survived. If you are also scared of getting your wisdom teeth taken out, again, coming from someone who was hyperventilating and crying, put this off for many years. I've been told to get this out since I was like 16. I'm now 25 and just did it. It's not that bad. It was fine. So if you're like me, you'll be fine. Go get your wisdom teeth taken out. But that is it for today's video. Just wanted to give the update. So I hope you guys enjoyed. You can laugh at my pain, please do. But I love you guys so much, more than you'll ever know, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.